Hey everyone, and welcome to this explainer. Today we're going to unpack the profound and honestly just totally fascinating mysteries of Plate 9 from the famous 1677 Mutus Liber, the wordless book of alchemy. Now, if you've been following our journey through these historical texts, you already know that alchemical manuscripts are basically incredibly dense visual puzzles. They hide layers of chemistry, psychology, and cosmic philosophy right in plain sight. So today we're focusing entirely on one massive turning point in this legendary sequence. All right, let's dive right into this.
What we're looking at here is an intricately detailed engraving that marks the kickoff of what alchemists called the second work. Now, at first glance, if you're familiar with the earlier stages of the Mutus Liber, you might be getting a serious case of déjà vu. I mean, it looks like a simple return to nature to collect fresh morning dew, exactly like we saw at the very beginning of the whole process. But look a little closer. It is a return for sure, but it's happening with a vastly elevated, refined understanding and a totally transformed technique. These practitioners haven't gone backward at all. They've leveled up.
To truly get our heads around this level up, we're going to decode Plate 9 by moving through 4 specific steps: the visual evolution, the physical laboratory alchemy, the Jungian psychological alchemy, and finally, Hermetic philosophy.
So, let's kick things off with Part 1, the visual evolution from Plate 4 to Plate 9.
This comparison brilliantly illustrates that leap in the alchemist's sophistication I mentioned. Think back to Plate 4 for a second. The practitioners were outside stretching these massive, cumbersome linen sheets over wooden stakes just to catch the dew. It was raw, muddy, totally mechanical labor. But here, they've ditched the primitive cloth for pristine glass or ceramic dishes. They've essentially removed the messy middleman, making the collection process highly concentrated, remarkably pure, and beautifully, mathematically ordered. And check out the sky above them. See that central pyramid of descending rays coming down from the sun and the moon? It's significantly broader, it's denser, and it's way more radiant. We can also see the ram and the bull flanking the scene, which tells us we're still operating in that critical spring astrological window of Aries and Taurus. But the sheer visual density of that light, that tells us the energetic charge hitting the Earth is immensely more powerful now. The heavens are quite literally dialing up the intensity.
Now drop your eyes down to the lower register, because we see a crucial evolution here that changes absolutely everything. Over on the left, the Adept and the Soror Mystica are pouring this newly collected, pristine dew from a basin into a glass flask. But look closely at the right side of that bottom panel. The Soror Mystica is handing that flask directly to Mercury, or Hermes, the mythological figure holding his famous staff. The practitioner isn't just mechanically moving physical matter around anymore. They are literally interacting and cooperating directly with a deity. The spiritual intelligence of this whole process is directly receiving the raw physical medium straight from human hands. It's wild.
Okay, moving right along to lens number 2, the actual physical alchemy of multiplication and fermentation. So, in the step right before this, the alchemists finally achieved what they called the albedo, the white stone. But getting the white stone wasn't the finish line. To push past it and reach the ultimate goal, the red work, they desperately needed fresh celestial solvent to multiply its power. They called this process fermentation. Honestly, think of it exactly like baking bread. The fresh dew added to the white tincture acts exactly like yeast added to bread dough. It ferments, it activates the philosophical matter, and it elevates it to an entirely higher vibrational and chemical potency. Without this fresh influx of spring dew, the whole work would just stagnate. And this absolute need for chemical purity is exactly why they changed up their tools. Gathering this dew in a sacred geometric triangle of dishes wasn't just them trying to look cool or mystical. It had a very real, highly practical purpose in the lab. Using smooth glass or ceramic instead of woven cloth prevented contamination from stray linen fibers, dirt, or dust. It ensured that the fresh solvent for this super delicate secondary distillation remained flawlessly pure. But as anyone who studies these ancient texts knows, this isn't just about chemistry. The physical work in the lab was always a mirror for internal, spiritual work. Which really begs the question, how do we interpret this profound shift for the human mind? Specifically, how did the great psychoanalyst Carl Jung view this exact process?
That brings us perfectly to our third lens, Jungian psychological alchemy.
Jung taught that individuation, the lifelong journey to becoming your true whole self, is not a straight line at all, it's a spiral. The ego hits a moment of conscious illumination, which is the albedo, but then it has to circle back to the wild field of the unconscious to gather more energy. This is what we call the second spiral. Notice the return of those geometric dishes here. This time, the ego returns with mature boundaries and structured focus. You're no longer just wading blindly into the chaotic waters of your own psyche. And that incredible handshake with Mercury we saw? Jung saw that as an archetypal dialogue. It represents the ego actively co-creating with the transcendent function, the deeper self. The practitioner is no longer passively wrestling with overwhelming emotions. They're acting as an equal partner with the deepest, most divine layers of their own mind. Let's zoom all the way out now for our fourth and final lens, Hermetic philosophy and the law of octaves.
The crucial point here, the big takeaway, is the Hermetic law of octaves. In Hermetic thought, transformation proceeds in octaves, kind of like a piano keyboard. Plate 9 visually looks super similar to Plate 4 because it is repeating the exact same fundamental note. But the catch is, it's elevated exactly one full step higher on the musical and vibrational scale. The fundamental work is the same, but the resonance is entirely different. It's literally a higher frequency of existence. And this reveals the beautiful, dynamic reality of conscious co-creation hidden in this image. The physical universe, the cosmos, provides the raw material, that celestial dew descending from the heavens. But nature alone doesn't just spontaneously make the philosopher's stone. It is only through human artifice, through our structured intention and spiritual consciousness, that this raw material can be gathered, purified, and concentrated into something worthy of being handed back to the divine. Nature begins the work absolutely, but humanity has to step up and perfect it.
So as we wrap up this explainer, I want you to reflect on how this 17th century engraving actually serves as a really powerful reminder for us today. Growth, whether it's happening in a literal chemistry flask, in your own psychological development, or in your understanding of the universe, is never a simple, straight path from A to B. It's a profound, repeating climb to a higher resonance. We return to the same fields, we face the same fundamental challenges in life, but if we've actually done the work, we face them with better tools, sharper focus, and a direct connection to our higher selves. So I'll leave you with this to ponder. The next time you feel like you're just repeating a life lesson you thought you already learned, are you truly going backward, or have you just arrived at the next octave of your own ascending spiral?